can trigger some of these interactions with JavaScript and
Yeah.
all that lot, which I've always wanted from the Webflow native interactions. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I wonder what will happen because you've got Club GreenSock. You've got so many plugins and things like that. I wonder how they will be integrated. If
They
they
are
will be
all
integrated.
free. They are all free.
They are all free, but
Yep.
how did they manifest? Because you've got Draw SVG, you've got physics, you've got so many things like this, whether they will be revealed through the interactions panel or whether they advise that you kind of go into custom code to gain access to those plugins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you seen how it is right now?
What's it?
How
Webflow.
the integration is. So if we go to settings, we have this GSAP already.
Okay.
In
yes.
settings.
No, I haven't seen this. Yeah.
Yeah. And here I can turn on GSAP. And if I include it, I can be specific about what plugin I need. So I would guess this would still remain. And what they will do is if you use, for example, split text in the animation, they will automatically check this for you here.
So this is so it'll be interesting to see if you check something here and then it reveals an interface in the interactions panel, or again they say
the other way around probably. Yeah, the interaction will have it.
All this is doing is loading the library and registering GSAP. That's all this will be doing. So yeah, cool.
So
excellent.
I vibe coded something 2 weeks ago, and I was asking AI, hey, tell me if I need a specific library and I will include it. And the AI was constantly telling me, well, that plugin is paid. And I'm like, man, you're not updated. It's not paid. It's a few weeks behind, to be fair. But no, it's not paid. And just stop it. I have access to them all. It was resisting really hard.
AI, this is free. Let's assume it's free from now onwards. There we go.
Don't worry about my wallet.
Yeah.
Cool. So with that being said,
very cool. Let's jump into
what's
the
up
news.
this week?
Well, like I say, last week was a lot of releases. Although to be fair, there is a stream right now, an OpenAI Codex live stream right now with 10K people watching. So a few less here. I look forward to catching up with that. So OpenAI have an announcement, and we'll maybe tweet about that. But in our things, if you share my screen, if you get my screen up there, we'll dive into it. Basically, as you get that up. So are you showing my screen?
Yeah, we got it.
Cool. Okay, because
you can zoom in a little bit.
Our feed. Not wrong one. So this one's actually scary. I think this is. I think you're sharing your screen, but no, you've got it up. I'm just watching the stream come through now. Cool. Sorry about that, guys. So I actually think this is a lot more scary than anyone ever. Than this being made out to be. So basically, Alibaba. I think I thought it was TikTok, to be honest, for some reason, or ByteDance, but Alibaba have released a zero search, or basically a zero data LLM. It basically, or am I getting confused here? I don't know. We'll keep going with it. But basically, it requires zero data to learn from it. It basically learns itself. It sets itself parameters, and then learns a bit, and then documents its progress, and then whether it succeeds or whether it fails, and it self builds basically from zero, which is just crazy, which is a wild thing to think about, because you can just set it up. I'm sure it's not as simple as that, but the cost savings are amazing. They've mentioned here it's 88% less cost reduction mechanism, which is quite interesting. I was just looking at this now. 64,000 search queries using Google would cost around $586, right? Whereas a 14 billion parameter simulation on 100 GPUs would only cost $70.80. So there's efficiency gains here as well, but it's just, yeah. I actually think this is something slightly different, but this is still quite crazy. Um, there is what else have we got here? I
So
actually think this is singularity. I think this is what they call singularity, which is like I released a post on LinkedIn and put a photo of the Terminator up.
yeah, it's
'Cause,
really
yeah.
getting difficult to like get to being able to predict what is going to happen next. And the rate that these companies are moving right now is just crazy. Like the rate that they are putting out code and putting out products is just going through the roof. Just reading the first few lines of this article, it seems like what Alibaba has done is allowing LLMs to not use search engines and still have search capabilities, meaning that this is like double bad for Google and Microsoft. Like, not that humans are not going to use their search engines, LLMs are not going to use them either. So this is like crazy scary. And we already see by some estimates like 70% reduction in search. I was chatting with a client last week and he asked me, he wanted to do a campaign. And then he asked me a question. And as he asked me, he started asking ChatGPT as well. And the question was more like Google oriented. And I was like, you just answered yourself. You yourself, not a tech guy, you didn't search it in Google. You asked ChatGPT for it. And I think this is like this point that everybody should realize that like search engines are pretty much as good as dead. I don't know how it is for you, but if I Google something, I see this Google summary, like AI generated summary, and 90% of the times, maybe even more, I'm good with it. I don't read even the first link. I don't click anything.
No, for sure. It's funny you say this because I sent out a tweet last week. I don't want to dox myself or anything now, but I sent out a tweet this morning and I had Samuel here arguing with me, very polite. It was all good, it wasn't like a full-blown argument, but my tweet yesterday was SEO is dead, I reckon.
Yeah.
So it's so funny that you say this. I think we still got a bit of a way. I think SEO is absolutely still relevant, and Samuel makes some good points here. But I do think we're in, because I think the way that people are searching is very different now.
Yeah.
I just think I don't know. I agree with you. Anyway, I want to announce that I made a boo-boo. So basically, I'm getting two articles mixed up here. This is the one that actually is freaky. So can I move this into?
Sure.
So this is absolute zero. All right, I'll wait for this to. I'm hoping this will share. And
holy
this
shit.
Is zero training data. This is zero training data. Self-evolving mechanisms is what we're talking about. Let me make that bigger for you guys, right? And this is what I meant to say about Terminator. The fact that it has no data and no data sets, no human labeled examples to guide it, just a system that evolves and improves entirely on its own. I have a feeling this might be ByteDance, which is why I was getting
absolute zero reasoner. This sounds like awful to a philosopher. Zero reasoner, but interesting.
Yeah. LLM without data, Isaac Newton born with teeth. That's what Saeed said. So let's go through these TLDRs. Absolute reasoning model introduces self-evolving AI, allowing autonomous learning, problem solving without relying on external data or human supervision, marking a paradigm shift in AI development. I think more people need to be talking about this for sure. Reinforcement learning with variable rewards. What that means, it's giving itself the parameters in which it knows it solved the problem. Whereas right now, I think there's three different ways we train AI. But right now, the human is the intervention of did the machine get this right? But this one, it tells itself that it's right, basically. Absolute zero demonstrates cross-domain generalization, excelling in diverse fields as mathematics and coding. So, arguably some of the biggest things, at the moment, I would say physics is probably only bigger than that. Well,
but how can
sciences,
it,
I guess,
how is it that it doesn't do any reasoning, but it can do mathematics? Because isn't it mathematics just reasoning?
Sure. I mean, you talk about like humans. We evolve through this is how we evolve. We go from unreasoning little kids who just don't know how to take care of themselves, and we learn through baby steps, quite literally, just to get to a point where we're able to solve math problems. I think we're probably underestimating the time it takes to actually get to a mathematical problem.
This is really interesting because
I think it's super interesting.
It is, and that's why I'm trying to understand here, because we have reasoning and intuition, and we shouldn't mix them. Intuition. Okay. Maybe you build intuition with reasoning or without it, but you build intuition with having experiencing the world as a child or as reading something. Maybe you build intuition. Yeah. But reasoning is quite literally tapping into the logics and going the actual steps of maybe even the scientific method to reason and to build up, a situation where you can replicate it. But as of now, AI, that the reason why they hallucinate is because they try to mimic our intuition.
Okay.
Because if you tell an AI what is this huge number multiplied by this huge number is, they give you a very interesting answer. The answer is something that the numbers at the start are correct, the numbers at the end are correct, but the middle is not correct, because the AI has developed a sort of intuition for what is the multiplication of these two numbers, but doesn't quite do the actual reasoning and multiplication of the numbers. So it's roughly right, but not quite. And that's why they are so good at guessing the next thing, but they are not good at being 100% sure with the next thing. It's just intuition.
But there's also this thing of something lost in the middle, or something we need to be aware of that they're getting better at. This is more to do with coding and stuff, is that you build a context so big that the middle bit just gets a little bit jumbled. But what you're saying something slightly different?
No, I think in a way it is related, but it's not about the amount. It's not about the context window. It's just reasoning is based on hard data. Let's say in multiplicating two numbers, it's the actual the exact number. But intuition is when I say what is 100 times 100, it's more than 500. You might not know the exact answer, but for sure it's more than 500, because you have that level of intuition. Now AI is very getting really good at getting super close, but it's not always exactly there. That's why if you ask in programming, if you ask it to write something, sometimes it comes up with an API that doesn't exist. But it would make sense for that tool to have an API with those methods. They don't have it though. The AI just intuitively think that thing should exist, so it makes it up.
So it's making intuition up, basically.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. This to me, absolute zero is, I think, a turning point in AI. I don't know whether they've actually this is something that's live, or whether it's a paper or of some description which that it's not. It's a theory, basically. I'm not sure how this has manifested itself, but manifested itself. I don't know. But either way, this to me was just like, holy crap.
We're getting there.
Self-evolving mechanism. Yeah, we're getting where. That's the worry. Yeah.
Event horizon is just there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty good. Let's start going. Let's bring it back to web, because that scares me being there. So implicit caching. This is nice. This is happy stuff. Google adds implicit caching to Gemini 2.5. This is actually really, really helpful, and I think I wanted to raise this because there are a few things that you can do to actually take advantage of this. I love, you know what caching is, right? I mean,
yeah, but what is implicit caching?
Well, I mean, it's implied. So basically, the AI will detect whether you are actually using the same words, the same phrases, whether it's got it, and it will cache it yourself. Right now, you have to actually do something to make it cache. Like you need to actually trigger a caching. But this is if you use similar, and this will get to the crux of it really. If you use similar words, it will just cache and automatically like save you money at the end of the day. So I think this is good because we can take advantage of this, and I'll get to the sort of quote unquote downsize is that it needs a minimum request size, which is 1,024 tokens for 2.0, and 2.5 is 2,048 tokens. This is really easy to achieve. It's not like this isn't like you need a whole code base to actually trigger this implicit caching. But what they're saying is that if you start, it might kind of be relevant to what you were just saying now. If you start with common prefixes, which could be, I was thinking about this just before this this call here, is that like it could be as simple as saying you are a software engineer, or just you having similar prompts to trigger that caching, and this is so valuable. Like at the end of the day, especially if you're being charged for each like request or whatever going out, this is actually really cool.
Is it like system prompts in a way?
Well, kind of. You could probably use a system prompt to trigger it. I think the Cursor and Windsurf both have kind of you can have your global. I've got a video coming up about this actually. You have your global rules that you set on every single code base, every single project, blah blah blah. But you can actually have project rules which you can include in your prompt. So that might be a nice way to do, to trigger the implicit caching. And I've really liked 2.5, although we'll get into some new releases. Of course, there's some new releases, but I do like 2.5. So I think that might be and I think a lot of people do. A lot of people are really happy with 2.5. So I think it's that'll be a really clever way to always trigger this implicit caching, which you should get. Saying that, I think they just benefit from the speed, because I don't think the updates that Cursor or Windsurf have made, actually, they're trying to simplify their pricing. And in that, I think a lot of them are doing it per request as opposed to like how many tokens you're using. I think they're just taking the hit on small tokens, lots of tokens or whatever. So I'm not sure whether we actually benefit inside of the coding tools, but we certainly could benefit inside of, let's say, Google Gemini or something like that. So this is a really nice little feature that's been added, I think. And I think that it's just gonna help reduce the costs, because I think it's growing. I don't know about you, but I'm spending not a lot of money, but quite a bit of money on my AI output. But I'm trying to do it as cheaply as possible by actually using the APIs as opposed to the kind of chat platforms that are out there, So bit of good news there.
Yeah, that's great. The cost is definitely growing, so that is welcome.
For sure. Let me just get my notes up here, because I want to go in a certain order. Okay, this is one of my articles that I wrote. Actually, I do post on LinkedIn, to be honest. This is actually I really welcome your thoughts here, actually, on this one, right? Because Klarna kind of announced that they went all in on AI. They went an all-in AI strategy, and I think they fired a lot of their workforce on because of this AI strategy. And this gets into a quite a big debate, to be honest. And they've now basically backtracked on their decision on this because they just started to receive really low quality, results. They replaced their customer service as well, and just you can see here, quality and empathy were sacrificed, and they're backtracking on it. So I mean, it's good to see that they've actually recognized that going all in on AI, it was a mistake. But at the same time, very, very recently, Duolingo declared themselves AI first. And I think they're going to realize the same thing. And I think I saw a video recently from a guy, a YouTuber in London, actually, he's a US guy, noticing the deterioration in quality on Duolingo. Do you use Duolingo?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
I learned the traditional way.
Through hard work and craft, like the good old days.
Not like my English is not AI generated. Yeah, I don't do skibbity.
Skibbity. But he was saying that the stories, which in Duolingo were particularly kind of just sucking, basically. So. And we'll get into a discussion. I mean, I don't want to skip too far ahead, but did you watch the video that I put in the notes for this episode?
No, I haven't actually. Yeah.
Okay. But anyway,
so
this whole idea of like replacing people with AI, and it's a conversation I've had with a few people this week, actually. This idea of like entrepreneurs being empowered to build their own tools to, I'm replacing massive teams with AI. Like, I'm getting so much work done because I've got AI. Granted, I'm not multi-million-dollar company that is able to afford people. Like, I feel like this is empowering people like me, not to justify my own use of AI. I can't afford to hire people. But saying that, you're empowering all these people to sack off people and fire people. I'm seeing a lot of redundancy. Actually, that's actually really relevant. Was it Google or Facebook or someone massive just fired so much of their workforce? I don't know if it's to do with AI, but if you're hiring people, if you're firing people because of AI, then no one's got any money to. Well, people are not earning any money. They're not able to. There's not disposable income for them to spend the money, and so like we're going down. I think if we're not careful, we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole of total annihilation of ourselves because no one needs to work, so that there's no reason to start a company because no one's buying anything because they don't have to work. Do you see what I'm saying? It's this weird cyclical thing.
But that is far in the future. I don't honestly see this happening anytime soon. And the reason for that being OpenAI, did they buy Windsurf or are they still in talks?
I heard no, I'm not going to say. I heard an update that they've committed to that $3 billion.
So that's the crazy thing. That's like my take on it. And it's also relevant to Duolingo calling themselves AI first, or Klarna, going back to the good old days. I don't think these AI tools are quite there yet to take any jobs. We thought something like customer service would be gone by now. Like if you look at ChatGPT 3.5, like the earliest versions that we all saw and we were like, holy shit, like this is the new era. Now you do not use that version. You find it to be like awfully bad, right? But we saw it and we were like, this is going to replace customer service, for example, and it's still not there. And we see Klarna going back to humans. And when it comes to coding, I think that it's even like further away in the future if it happens like ever. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna happen ever, but it's far in the future. And a good reason to to think this way, at least that's how I think, how I came to this conclusion. Why would OpenAI pay $3 billion for a fork of VS Code? VS Code is free.
Crazy.
It's an open source code editor with a splash of AI on top of it. Why are they paying so much money? Windsurf doesn't have users, so they're not paying for, getting access to those users. They don't also have like decades of work on that tool. Like building Windsurf didn't take decades. It's not like so much code that it's so difficult to replicate or to write again. I mean, Cursor and Windsurf, they are going neck to neck, right? They are like very close. So I assume the code is not, in itself, is not like too difficult, but at the same time, difficult enough that OpenAI would pay $3 billion for it. And they are on the top. They have all the money from, Microsoft and Satya. So why don't they just create an internal team and fork VS Code? They don't do it because probably it will take time. It will take a lot of like engineers. So it's still like they can't tell their own chat GPTs and press a button and say, yeah, create a fork of VS Code.
Plus, they need to compete. If they launch their own, that's just adding to the mixing pot of code editors then. So I just don't think they wanted to compete. It's like, well, we'll just buy it and then,
Yeah, but why do they pay $3 billion? Like if it's so easy to create software so that companies are already firing programmers, then why shouldn't they fire programmers and just use AI to create Windsurf in opposed to paying $3 billion for it? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the software is still valued. The only thing that has changed with AI, the way I see it, is like difficult problems are not difficult anymore. Things that were like almost like impossible to do or not really wise to tackle, now you can say like, yeah, let's take a few like good programmers and tackle that impossible thing because we have AI. We can move faster, but it doesn't mean that programmers are obsolete.
Yeah, no.
That would be my take.
Well, you can see on the screen that reaches an agreement to buy. So I'm not sure if this is what we were speaking about last week or you were speaking about last week, but there's your answer. But yeah.
Yeah. By the way, on why they are paying $3 billion to buy this, Primeagen has a really good take as well. He mentions that probably because creating a piece of software is not a piece of cake as like some of these companies try to sell the idea to you to. But also because OpenAI, what they are lacking is the integration of the code in real world project. They kind of they know what code output they are giving to you, but they don't know how you are using it. So by owning this tool, Windsurf in this case, they know what they are giving to you, but how you, a developer, how you are using this code in your code base. They get the full context. So it's about data.
Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? So it's there's no surprise that that's what worth $3 billion apparently. Funny enough, I just watched a video just before this call actually, and it was by a guy, really good video, talking about how vibe coding has been sold. This lie of vibe coding has been sold to be. It always happens. It happened with Facebook. Zuckerberg took a shot in the dark, and it was like obviously blew up, and now he's a billionaire. Vibe coding has gone down the same route where people think, "Oh, cool, I can just build a tool now." And I'm in conversations with someone at the moment who wants to go down this who wants to leverage this vibe coding, movement. And I'm like, I was saying to him literally this week, because we have call every week, I think you just need to get your app out, because you build it, you spend all these time building it, you get to MVP, because then the moment you release it is the moment you realize that no one fucking wants it, and then you go off and build your next tool, or it's such a small task in the grand scheme of things to build these tools, because then one, yeah, you've got to actually get people to buy it. Two, you've got to maintain it. You've got to like fix bugs and develop features and things like that. Like it's not just like you throw it out there. You are literally committing. The moment you release it is the moment you commit to potentially the rest of your life. You could be for the rest of your life supporting that application. And I think people don't realize that it's a full-blown company. It's hiring people. It's churn. It's managing churn and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, I like I said, I just watched the video just before now. I don't think people are realizing that there is, again, with OpenAI, but building their own thing, that it's a lot more work than you think.
Yeah.
So much more work than you think. Probably costly as well, and it might not succeed.
Yeah.
Again, if they were to release their own one, it might not compete. It might not be as good. But yeah, it's a really, really interesting kind of state of work at the moment. Is kind of really just all up in the air, to be honest. I see you've got Upwork on your screen. You want to run this?
I'm not sharing it actively right now with, but now we are sharing. Yeah. So I don't know if it's the article or not, but somebody mentioned it in today's call that Upwork's CEO, this is the fall release 2024, but Upwork's CEO, so I'm just going to paraphrase it, mentioned that kind of like not too harsh, but somehow in a harsh way to its own staff, that that you need to be prepared for the age of AI, that we expect you to basically utilize AI, which is not a surprise, but I think this is what a lot of developers are not realizing. For the entire life today, I've been like on the side of developers, but for a moment, and to be fully realistic, it's a lot of people are not, utilizing AI. And I see this issue not just with developers, with pretty much everybody, graphic designers, anybody. Like with AI, you can just get so much done, so much faster, and a lot of people are not using it. So in the market, obviously time matters, and the next founder who thinks about hiring you might contact you and ask you, how long does it take for you to do X and Y, Z? And if you say like 2 weeks, and somebody else says, well, I use AI and it will take only 2 days, you might not get the gig, and you shouldn't be surprised. So that's how your job will be taken away. That's essentially how it is.
Yeah, totally. You can fight, but the more you fight, the more you're falling behind. And it's not to say that AI is going to take over. It's just going to be a tool that you can leverage, just like computers are a tool that you can leverage. It's an inevitability, and I think that developers are pretty cool. I think pretty much everyone I know is using AI. I don't think they necessarily need to go down that vibe coding route. Vibe coding is obviously this debatable topic, certainly at the moment, but absolutely, at least use code completion and things like that, and if anything, to help use chats to generate the functions that you need rather than writing them yourself. So, but yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any more thoughts?
No.
Concerns?
It's like
this is a massive topic, though, the workforce. Do you know what I mean? I've had too many of these conversations.
And people are so worried. That's why I'm also trying to cover it every time, because people constantly ask me. The worst thing that this AI is doing, like it's what's it called? What is the word? Paralyzing? When somebody cannot move. What is the word for it?
Paralyzing. Yeah.
Paralyzing. This is what I see. AI is paralyzing so many people because they are afraid of going to any field at all. They say, if I go into this, AI will take my job tomorrow. If I go into that, AI already has taken over. I'm like, no, it's just so far from truth. And the difficult part is to understand is being a junior in today's era, it's very difficult if you don't use AI. So you cannot get a job as a junior anymore, not at least in the traditional sense. You can be a junior and get a job or like an internship as a junior AI vibe coder. I could totally see that. But if you are a junior in a traditional way and you're like, I have no idea and I don't know even how to use AI, then I'm sorry, like this is the world we are in, and you have no place in like in no workforce. But maybe the answer is to just like how it was in the past, pick a subject that you are really interested in and use AI to its full potential. Learn to use AI for that subject without thinking that AI is going to take over your job. No, think that with that AI and your interest for that subject, you can build something potentially even like better, or like at least more impressive in the first site, better than a senior developer. You can do this as a junior, and I've done this myself. And my senior dev looks at my code and he's like, "This is dog shit," and he's right. But but he also says that he couldn't do this in a day. What I do in a day, he couldn't do it. So the code is dog shit. Yeah, I agree, and I'm never saying like it's not. But at least I can get the idea out. I can test it. I can get it in front of people. And once it's time to rewrite the code or whatever, I can either get better with AI and do it myself, or give it to a developer who can use, his knowledge plus AI to rewrite the entire code base.
Yeah. And that's the important thing, is like, as with everything, like, you got agile way of working, which is getting the idea out there. Because again, going back to the conversation I had with my friend, you'll learn that no one uses it, or they use it in a completely different way than you expect it, or the idea is completely different. I went to config rather this week, represent, and would you believe what was the founder said? It was a GIF generator. Figma started out as a GIF generator.
Wow.
And obviously now it's Figma. Like it will never be the thing that you launch. And if it does get successful, it's a shot in the dark. So just get your idea out there, or not in your case, get your code up there so it works. Move on with your life. Because I don't know about you, but once I get something up or I get something built, whether it's the best code or whatever, there's just a massive weight off my shoulders, a relief in my mind that allows me to think of other things, and then I will return to that. I will think of a better way to do it. But I think this is a really nice segue into the next, not even article, but if you share my screen, there was an emergency debate that was brought together by Stephen Bartlett, and it was the founder of Replit, and I was trying to find out who the other guys were, but you got one person who's kind of in the middle, but you got the founder of Replit, who, no offense to the guy, but he came in looking like a supervillain with the ginger goatee and the red jacket, but he was a very smart man. And another guy who, if I skim forward, this guy, let's have a look, see what their names are. But he was against. Are you going to skim forward? This guy, he was against AI, and he was very fearful of AI and how, workforces are being sort of replaced, and we sort of missed the boat a little. He wasn't a doomer, like he was very. There were certain things that he was very excited about, but he was very much like providing that other side, that consideration of why we should be prepared. I guess preparing ourselves for the inevitability that we're self-destructive with the onslaught of AI and whatever, and there'll be always people trying to capitalize on, there'll be plenty of people doing good, but there will be people who are right now, right in this moment, building things to take advantage of people. The easiest one being imitating voices and then calling you up, pretending you're
scams.
I'm Granny and I need some money and can you send it to me? Scams, right? So there are people already doing terrible, malicious things with AI, but I'm not gonna I think this is certainly a watch, because I'm trying to understand why people just, the moment they hear it's AI, they just nope, don't want to read it. Nope, don't want to watch it. Funny enough, half the stuff they're reading now is AI, so half the time they can't even tell.
It is overwhelming. That is why, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about whether it's overwhelming. I think that, I listen to a lot of philosophical and self-help videos on YouTube, particularly if I can't sleep. And I'm sorry, I know full well that the audio is AI generated. I know full well the script is AI generated. I know full well the imagery that I'm looking at if I'm watching it on the screen is AI generated. I know this. But the bigger picture to me is that it's helping me with my mental state, or it's helping me solve problems and just make sense of things, which I haven't done before. And I know it's AI generated, but saying that, it's not about me. I flip down to the comments and I'll see people and they'll be like, oh, this is AI junk and whatever. And it's like, you're automatically just throwing it away because you know that it's AI. Whereas me, that's actually finding this really helpful. I don't care that it's AI, but people just switch off just because it's AI generated, and they AI slop. AI. Oh, this is AI slop, and it's like, just you have this. It's a you problem, I don't know why people switch off, but I want to understand why people just switch off just because it's AI.
Well, the reason for that being, I was discussing this actually with my philosopher friend just yesterday, and I think this has a lot to do with how we find value in things. Like, if something is hard to do and takes a lot of time, and basically we can assign effort to it, we automatically think it's more valuable. It's not always one-to-one like this. It's not always, more effort means more value, but it is in many cases. Like a Ferrari, valued a lot because the amount that they output is not a lot, they cannot make too many of them, or I don't know, like any of these supercars, but it's also because it's really difficult to make. I know I mentioned Ferrari on purpose because this is a luxury brand. So there is this element of luxury that we also assign value to it. But anything that is very difficult, we again assign value to it. And AI slop, the issue with it is because that's how I see it, is because you don't see any effort being put in towards it, even though sometimes the output, as you said, it can be really high quality.
I'm not saying it's high quality. I think that there's a bigger picture here. Like, it's still crappy. It looks crappy or whatever. But yeah, ultimately, I am trying to understand the other side of it, and I am trying to understand the like they discuss in this video here, like the sort of downside to it, because I don't want to be just blindly running into it. I want to try and meet in the middle somewhere, and know that I'm using it for good and providing value, rather than just throwing out AI slop that's not not relevant to anyone. And you said something earlier that was quite relevant, in that we talk about AI taking over people's jobs, right? It's not taking. I think that word "take over" is an interesting one, because it's not about taking over. Like, I want to encourage people to I think there's this perception that you need it to do everything, and we'll maybe get into AI agents a little bit, but I've been looking into AI agents and AI super agents, right? It's not about it replacing an entire workforce, or it's not about replacing your entire role. I think we need to look at it in a more modular way, and that it's empowering you to do certain aspects of your work. For me, I take these talks that we do, I take phone calls that I have, I take videos that I make, I transcribe them with AI, I turn them into blog posts with AI. I do little bits and bobs. Yesterday, I had a call to discuss a contract. Now, we haven't sent this contract out to the client yet. It's an internal discussion. And I uploaded the original contract that I had drafted. I uploaded the transcript of the discussion that we had about the contract. And I said, everything that was mentioned in here, where is it mentioned in the contract? And if not, where should I put it? And I was able just to like cross-reference that then, and just use AI to help me make sure I'm covering everything in the new contract that we've written. And I just think that's friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
I think that, and that's just a small aspect. I'm not replacing anyone's job. I'm enabling my own job. I'm enabling my own work through the use of AI and little bits and bobs. But yeah, it's interesting to see how the other side perceive AI and also the downsides.
I do the same even with my team. I don't think that any piece of AI coming out, I don't think it's going to replace any of my teammates. If anything, I want to get my teammate get their hand on that piece of AI so that they can output more. That's what I want. I don't want to myself go to the AI and I don't know, like start prompting or whatever, or play around with it. I want to know, okay, there is this AI that can do X and Y, and I have this person who is very good at doing it as well. But with AI, they can do 10 times more work with a higher quality. That's basically what I'm looking for. And I want to give the AI to them. And when it comes to hiring, this is where it becomes difficult. This is where AI is not taking over your job, but AI is making it very difficult to hire you, because if you're not using AI, I don't know how I can hire you.
Yeah. Let's move on. I don't want to keep doom and gloom. Did you want? Is there anything you wanted to like bring up at the moment? Because I'm going to move on to AI Notion.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, this AI Notion notes. It's like granola is in danger.
I've got really nerdy about this. I don't know why. Maybe this is just me that's super interested in this sort of stuff, but. I'm really like, okay, so let's backtrack, right? I'm dyslexic. I think I mentioned last week I'm dyslexic, and having conversations, even this conversation, absorbing the information in real time and being able to process that and very clearly articulate myself is a massive challenge. I had a phone call yesterday that I was like I try and avoid phone calls, especially with clients, because I'm having to think and understand things, and I know that I come away and I think, oh crap, I've forgotten something, or I didn't have a pen and paper, or I'm worried that I might have missed something. So when AI comes around, I was straight on it with AI note takers, and actually I had a podcast called That Tech Show, which we used it so that we're able to actually just summarize and write the description of the podcast rather than actually any sort of notes. I've been using Fathom for absolutely ages. Fathom is maybe I can get it up here. I've been using Fathom, and the notes in this app were absolutely incredible. They give you action items, they give you what the call was about, and you're able to chat with the transcript as well. Really, really cool. And then you and I obviously did this thing where well, actually, just to round off the dyslexia thing, it was just amazing that I'm able to go back and watch things and understand things in a different way. And also, the AI will infer things and pick up things and make connections with things that I didn't actually make that connection. Like, oh, the client repeatedly mentioned this, and this, or whatever, and stuff like that. So, yeah. Then we got this deal with Lenny's newsletter or whatever, and they announced Granola, which is, I don't know if I can, well, I mean, it's not up on my screen anyway, but maybe I can just do the Granola. Granola is really cool because it runs on your machine and it takes the input from your microphone and the I don't know how it does it, but the input from the other person, because Fathom joins your call, which is it's kind of intrusive, but it does the job. And if your internet drops, it's still picking up the call of the other person. Whereas Granola, it's all on your machine. And what's nice is that you can actually take notes, as you can see here. You can kind of take notes as you're in the call as well, which you can't really do in Fathom. Really, really liked it. Used it for a couple of calls. Can see the live transcription. And then Notion drops the bomb that they are doing the same thing. And I liked Granola because it actually felt like Notion, and it would copy directly into Notion, work perfectly. But now Notion have launched their own app, meeting notes app, and it is pretty good. Like most businesses I know, I say businesses, most people on our sort of level of business, Notion runs their company. I mean, do you use Notion? I mean, you use Notion, but how deeply ingrained is Notion in your
everything
business?
From finances to hiring to team management to documentation, literally all my life is on Notion. Christmas gifts, Notion. I have everything on Notion. So yeah, I don't use their mail. I don't use the AI yet, but I have been a Notion Pro user since they were in beta. So
I saw a post just now. Everything just happened just before this call. ChatGPT is powering AI in Notion. So I wonder if you're actually just getting ChatGPT in the AI for Notion. Regardless, all my documentation is for my business is in Notion. I want to use it more. If there's one criticism I have, is that it's so powerful, but it can be very quite messy to try and organize stuff. I think that's what you naturally get. The more powerful a tool gets, it just gets a little bit convoluted, and I'll probably need to spend more time in Notion to get hold of it. Saying that, with the new AI, AI notes, equally, it was a bit tricky to set up, and the integration isn't as nice. Fathom just pops up into the right hand side. I can start the call with Fathom, it just goes into it, whereas I need to now create a new meeting, or seemingly, I don't know, I may need to look into it a bit more, create a new meeting note and set off the recorder, and it's doing it. It's recording this call right now. The notes are great. The action items are great. I'm not sure if they're as good as Fathom, if I'm honest. I still need to do a few more calls, but they're pretty good. I mean, I don't know whether this is included in that Lenny's newsletter, because I have Notion Pro now. I would like to try and move all my stuff over to Notion, but I see you've got the prices on your screen right now.
I think Notion AI is different.
Okay, so yeah, but the well, let's go into this.
I'm now sharing my screen, and this seems to be very interesting. AI meeting notes, perfect meeting memory in Notion. So just like Granola. And what's really cool, you can transcript, you can get a summary, you can get a note, and this is so good, man, because I have a weekly meeting with my team, talking about how everybody's week was, how is it going to be, what they will be working on. And I have somebody who writes meeting notes still in 2025. Can you believe this?
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
What?
Because I don't know, man. I try to use Granola. I try to use it's just so messy at the end. I feel like what I have, because the person who takes the notes is the project manager, and they later on assigns like actual tasks in a database, in a Notion database to people. So that's why, I mean, these AI tools, I think they are great for summary and note taking, to get back to them and to get back to the actual, note and see what was said. But I don't know if the actions are thorough and like good enough for me to, to let them take over and, do the action, because we don't store the tasks obviously in the meeting note. We have the task, and each project gets its own task in its own database. So it's very organized, but also disconnected from this. It might get there one day. You mentioned the project. We mentioned the project names for each client. We use like a few letters to mention the project. We shorten the names, but this looks very good. And all I see is these companies like attacking each other, like more frequent and more like faster than ever before. Because, I was about to buy the AI from Loom, because I use Loom day in, day out. It's so good that this is like the primary way I talk to my teammates, because it's async and faster, right? And I was thinking about buying the AI, but now this is kind of like lives on a different tool. But I guess,
I mean, realistically, you could link to this. You say here's the record. You could create a Notion art, like a page, and then send them the page with the Loom embedded or something. Maybe
exactly.
It's a bit more hardware, but it just depends on how you use Loom and what the AI brings to it. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But interesting. This I'm a big Notion fan, and I know they have like their own issues. They have some quite some haters, but I do like Notion.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm still. It's a bit cumbersome for me, but then I'm not living and breathing Notion and whatever. I just want to start a meeting and start recording it straight away rather than this cumbersome thing. But in an attempt to keep everything in Notion, it might just be worth the double action of doing it. But yeah, pretty cool. I'm using it, and it's free at the moment. I think they'll probably charge for it, but I think for me it's free at the moment, so we'll see. Well, there you go. There's some price in there.
It's crazy.
Calculate savings rather than actually. Clever. Right. Well, let's move on. I'm two big releases from Windsurf and Cursor this week.
Yep.
So Windsurf have released Wave 9, which Wave 8 was like last week. We just spoke about Wave 8. So I'm not really sure what their release cycle is, but it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how quickly these companies are moving. Wave 9 introduced the SWE models that basically, I think that they are Anthropic Claude and pretty much Claude, apparently outperforming Claude, which is pretty hard to believe, but there we go. Approximately Claude 3.5 sonnet levels tool call reasoning while being cheaper to serve. So the SE1 for me is and they attempt to address three different levels of coding, right? Whether it's a big sweeping change across the code base with complex reasoning and things like that, you're probably looking at something like number one light, smaller model, cascade, better quality, probably for lighter tasks and things like that. And then the mini is good for the tab, in page corrections and things like that. So yeah, I've started using this today. I was giving it a whirl. Seems to be good enough. It's interesting because I think they had their own model. Cascade base, you can see it here. I think it's just like an evolution of the Cascade base, but pretty cool to have their own models, and this is potentially why they're worth $3 billion.
Is there any reason for me to start with Windsurf? Is it like
Start.
easy for me to basically, open the same code base instead of like with Cursor, just open it with Windsurf?
Yeah.
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 That's
Just
great.
open
Like
it.
the churn, man, the churn is so easy on these
Yeah.
companies
Yeah.
that's why they shouldn't be, worth 3 billion, maybe.
Yeah. The only difference is, I mean, you've got global rules, which both of them respect, but the project rules are slightly different. You've got a cursor file or you've got a Windsurf file for the project rules. But outside of that, yeah, there's no difference. So you can just download it, use it, and go with it. So
I
that's
will
pretty
do
cool.
it. I still have Cursor because of that good deal, but I'm thinking maybe if I get stuck or like when I feel like the code quality is not good enough, maybe I don't know, I try a different tool and let's see what it does.
We're splitting hairs at this point, the way I feel, but I think that's a conversation for another day. Like,
Interesting.
they're all pretty good. I like that it's integrated. They've got their own models, whereas obviously Cursor don't. They're leveraging other models, but then they're free to make better software. Which, in fact, that goes to, if I maybe open up the 0.50 launch wherever it is. Let me get that up. Doing some live Googling, doxing myself or revealing some poor search history. Here we go. This is them talking about
Brave.
the pre-release. Yeah, it is, isn't it? I want to see. I mean, I can summarize it anyway. They're making some interesting updates to the UI and the usability of the software. No, I actually really want to get the simplified pricing. This is I need to understand the simplified pricing, so I'm not going to kind of go into it. It seemed like they were charging per request anyway, but then this one's also announcing they're charging per request. I even went back to the Wayback Machine to have a look if there's any difference from today than there is yesterday, but the pricing is the same. It's, so you get 500 credits. And a request is a credit, but then you max mode, which is like heavy duty stuff, which I should take advantage of. Really, it's like a 20% fee on top of the request itself. I'm not too sure. So unified request based token billing. Can't really speak to more than that. New tab model, which is cross file intelligence refactoring. So this seems to be popping up so much in people's videos and things like that. The actual tab, the next to go, if you make a change and it knows that you want to make that, you need to make that change in the rest of the file. You just tabs. Now it can do across the files, which is pretty cool. Background agent is also really cool with parallel task processing. Set your agent off, open up another window, do something else. Love that. That's really cool.
What do you do while your Windsurf or whatever AI is thinking to or like generating code? What do you do in that 30 seconds of time that you want?
Twiddle my thumbs. Take a sip of my coffee. What do you think I do?
Enjoying life.
Gosh, enjoying life. Touch grass.
I love that.
I will say, like, the projects I'm doing right now, the level of kind of code, like I see people or hear about people setting off 10-minute kind of like requests and things like that. I'm not that brave. I'm doing like little bits and bobs where maybe it will take 5 minutes, like at most. So I check the files as it's making the changes just to kind of see how it's doing it. Sometimes it backtracks on them, whatever. I'm not too sure, but it's just time for me to touch grass and just live life. What do you do?
Same. I go for a run.
Go for a run. Wow, making big changes.
I let the entire code to be regenerated again just because I wanted to change a background color.
Yeah. Right. Let's wrap up. Right. So multiple. So this was interesting. This is something I've been trialing. I have the back end and the front end in my workspace, and I'm wondering, I was trialing if it would changes I would make or want to make would be able to just navigate across the whole code base, but it doesn't. Seemingly now it does. Multi-root workspaces, so you can have your back end and your front end as separate kind of running. I don't know whether that computes with you, but like you have code for your front end, you have code for your back end, but they're separate code bases. They're not this. Sorry, I need to be on my microphone. They're not. It's not a mono repo, we call it, when the back end and the front end are all in the same code. So
you don't do that, having all the code in one.
There's a time and a place. I'm not going to criticize. There's a time and a place, but I deploy on separate servers. So when they're deployed on separate servers, they
that makes sense. Yeah.
So long file optimization, enhanced chat functionality, and I don't know what this is all about.
What's really interesting here to me is a lot of these are new terms to me. And the way I see it, I see myself as a junior developer, still learning, and I see these as like actually very interesting opportunities to learn. Like I'm being exposed to these new terms, and I take them as a way to just basically go on and learn them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
And
that I mean, not needing to teachers to suck eggs, but that's great. What AI is great for, just teaching, learning. My learning's just been expedited exponentially just because of AI. I can really dig into a topic and really query and ask questions about it. So, that's the week's news.
Awesome. So to wrap it up, something that might or might not be AI related, I have no idea. Framer has been creating quite a lot of buzz. A lot of people talking about this. I think there is a lot of marketing to learn from them that they are doing.
Do you want to share your screen?
Amazing marketing. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, cool.
Join us May 21st for a day of shipping. That's what Framer is saying. I have no idea what it is about. People are there are people who have seen what Framer is going to be announce, and people are like going crazy about it. So I just here said now Framer is going after Figma by adding more design functionalities, basically going the other way around. But maybe vibe coding coming to Framer, maybe an actual AI builder, maybe not AI at all. We don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know. I asked them to give me a beta preview so I can make a video on it, but haven't heard of them. So,
Framer. As someone of your stature, gosh, that's rude, isn't it?
They're not doing. I'm gonna take it back. They're not doing a great marketing.
Yeah, that could be quite interesting. I feel like there's someone else who's launching something soon. Maybe it's, I don't know, one of these no-code tools, but there's a lot of announcements.
Everybody's shipping.
Everyone. And I'm excited to see what this... I've got to go meet a friend now for a drink, but I'm excited to read this AI, ChatGPT, OpenAI announcement that happened whilst we're lollygagging around talking about the news. So let's wrap it up here, and thanks everyone for joining in.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and see you in the next episode. Hopefully next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
Live at 5.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right. Let's end it there. Thanks for tuning in. And